Part 2 of the letter SHIN. So if we look at the Psalm 119 here, of the 8 words, Shin Resh Yod Mim, Sharim. So shar, like sar, because the Shin can be pronounced as both the S and the SH. And actually what it says in the dictionary is that in biblical use, sometimes what is spelled, a word spelled with the letter Shin, in modern Hebrew is replaced by the letter Samic. So the letter Samic is pronounced as an S. The letter Shin is both S and or SH. And there might be some confusion. So Jeff Benner was writing Israel Yod Samic Resh Aleph Lamed. And it's like, Israel. Okay, well, is that legit? He probably, I'm guessing, found an ancient document where Israel was spelled with a Samic. Well, in Stone's Tanakh, it's spelled with a Shin. Well, which one is it? I don't know. See, I've inherited information. And if I'm shomering, if I'm filtering out, I can say, well, Samic is an engineered structure. Shin is teeth and fire. But the word spelled Yod Shin, the word spelled Yod Samic isn't really actually a word, but Yod Shin is the word that means is, which is to exist. In fact, if you spell in English is, that is the word is. And like we said before, Black's Law Dictionary has a dozen different meanings of the word is, but what does that mean? Well, one meaning is it exists, like hey yod hey, or hey vav hey, or yod hey yod, haya. It's that which is, that which has existence. And if I look at the word Israel, Yod Shin Resh Aleph Lamed, well, what is Resh Aleph? There's Resh Aleph Hey, which means put on exhibition. Resh Aleph Lamed, I don't think is actually a word, but it's kind of real, like the real existence. Hey, that's Israel. But if I say, well, Resh Aleph Hey is to put into exhibition, to be able to see something, and Aleph Lamed is El, which is God. Aleph Lamed Hey, Allah can mean God, but can also mean the word these. It's like these, what? These things right here. The reality of these things on exhibition. Well, that's Israel. That's Israel's function. That's the purpose of Israel. The job of Israel is the kadosh people, the set apart people, amad, put, placed, standing, established, instituted to be the people group exhibiting Elohim in reality, the one true Elohim manifest expression. That's Israel's job. Well, it's also, as an engineered structure, that's what it's supposed to do. So Yod Samic Resh Aleph Lamed would also work. Yeah, it would work. But if you're going to use a filter and refine the dregs, clean out certain microns of sediment, do you use a HEPA filter if you're cleaning the air, or do you just use there's some shop vacs, just so you know, all shop vacs are not created equal. There's some shop vacs with just rotten. Who invented this stupid, gosh darn it, you're vacuuming up dust and, let's say, asbestos and insulation, and the filter is designed to pull it in from the vacuum tube, pulverize it, obliterate it into microparticles, and then respread it through the whole house. The vacuum seems to be designed to do that. Oh, what? Isn't the objective of the vacuum to collect the sediment, the particles, and extract them from the environment, not redistribute them as microparticles where they're now everywhere and you're breathing it in more and more? The more that you vacuum up, the more you breathe in. I've seen quite a few shop vacs that do that. It's one of my pet peeves, just so you know. So you have to spend a lot of money and buy the best vacuum you can for hundreds of dollars rather than the cheapo one. And you got to make sure you get the right filter. Maybe one that's in a cloth bag, or maybe one that you can shake out and empty, and instead of the paper one that gets torn. It's like, Well, do you even care? Yeah, that's not your job. You never do that. You hire somebody else. Well, he's going to blast the stuff and spread it all through your house. I'm telling you, if you hire a contractor that has one of the cheap vacuums, that I worked for a guy 50 years ago. Did I was a painter, and there was this carpenter on the job, this older guy, and he pointed to his vacuum and he said, "That is my best tool. That's the most important tool I own out of all my gear, that vacuum." It's like, really? Why is that? Keep it clean. It's the functionality. I'm just saying, that was all a metaphor for saying the divine vacuum cleaner. What has that got to do with SHIN? To be able to absorb, process, and retain what's valuable. You know, you have a certain size, you put a certain filter grate so it's not sucking up the wrong things and then blowing the other things out. It's all how you wrap your mind around it. Anyway, Shin Resh Yod Mem. Well, Prince is Sar, Shin Resh, like Sar Shalom, Prince of Peace, or the prince who knows how to whoop the devil and cast out the demons, destroying the authority that establishes chaos. Is that Sar Shalom? It's also songs, shir, Shin Resh's song, or to sing, poet, minstrel, a bracelet chain of what they call charms, little tokens. If you make a big journey and you get a little bracelet charm, what they call them, token of remembrance, a zakar, a memorial of, hey, we were at this place and that place, and hey, we were in Paris, so I'm gonna have a little bracelet token of the Eiffel Tower, or whatever it might be, something of that nature. Something to remember something by. Well, what do poets, minstrels, singers? They take big matters of the heart or big events, and they write something beautiful or simple that you can remember. You can think about an aspect rather than only thinking about the whole thing. Like some restaurants you go to, it's not about mass volume, it's about taste. And so they'll present something artistically arranged on the plate with small quantities. So you can taste this and balance the taste of that and let the taste dance in your mouth, as it were. It's like, I'm really hungry. Well, then go to the buffet. Go to the I think there's one place called the King's Table or something. Eat whatever you want. Go back and get 10 platefuls. But you're not going to get that at the restaurant, which is serving you a delicacy of appreciation. See, there's a different intent. Go to whichever restaurant you think is more fitting. But what I'm saying is that sharim, songs, princes, poets, because it's Yod Mem is the plural. Is that a concept? Is that a function? Or do you read through the word and say, the idea of being able to appreciate life artistically or intellectually analyzed and appreciated for, I have a friend who loves doing landscape design. The guy's got a real knack for it. He got a real eye. He can see a landscape, somebody's house that's been there for years, and say, get rid of that and that and that, and put this and this and this, and redesign the lawn area, make a little island out of a planted area. You got some roses here. Yeah, get rid of the roses. It's like, roses are valuable. It's like, listen, do you put the value on the goal, or do you put the value on the fact that rose has been there for 40 years? Give the rose to somebody else. Get rid of the rose. It doesn't matter about the rose. There's another objective happening. And so the idea of being able to identify the objective. In fact, I just saw something on the internet came up that Warren Buffett has what he calls the 5/20 rule, the way he lives his life. He says, think of the top 25 things you want to do, the things you're interested in your life. Write them on a list. Just the best 25 things you want to put your mind, your time, your attention to in your life. Now, circle the top 5 that are the highest of your priority. Now, spend all your energy paying no attention to the other 20. Get rid of the other 20. They're your enemy. And it's like, what? No, those are the top 20 things I had in my life that I really wanted to do and pay attention to. He says, your enemy in life is not somebody opposing you, it's distraction. Once you've identified the 5 things that are the top of your priority, get rid of the other 20. They will cause you to stumble and be unproductive. And that apparently was like the secret of his success. See, that's an interesting concept. How do you filter out? What is the definition of success? What's the definition of, is it failure, or is it lack of success, or is it like I've been distracted? I really want to play music, but what I really want to do is learn Hebrew. Well, I want to learn Hebrew, so I'm going to put my time on that. Well, then I'm not putting time on the music, but I really want to do music. So, okay, I'm going to do it. It's like, no, wait a minute. If I could put music as one of my top 5, okay, but if playing music is number 6, then I should make sure I never get pestered or bothered by playing music, because it'll take me away from my better goal, which is learning the language. But if I can wrap the two together, now I can outsmart my own mind. Well, go ahead. What I'm saying is that what this word sharim is talking about? See, I could look at sharim, shin, resh, yod, mem, and say ram, resh, mem, or resh, vav, mem, or resh, yod, mem, reem, is that which is high, and that which is noble, and that which is a success, and that which means you're the resh man who've accomplished the goal, or you've become, in spite of whatever goals you thought you had, you've become the product throughout your life. Now you are this resh man, and that which belongs to you, shin, well, it's now yours. In other words, a bracelet chain of charms. Whatever you've picked up along the way, whether it's 20 things that you didn't do very well, or whether it's 5 things that you excelled at and 20 things that you thought, well, they were interesting, I'll use them as knickknacks on my shelf. So here's a bracelet chain of 5 things I really, really have accomplished, and then one which is just a collection of, hey, that's interesting. Okay, well, that's part of the bracelet chain. So if I'm looking at sharim, do I just translate it as songs or singers or princes? I'm trying to, by saying all this, here we are nearly at the end of Psalm 119, and I'm trying to give you the experience of what goes on in my head, you might say, of what do you do with this stuff? How do you analyze these words? I'm trying to give you the experience. If you can hang out with me here for another hour, and you might say, gosh, what a torment being inside that cranium. No, it's not a torment. It's actually, in The Wizard of Oz, there was a song, if I only had a brain. If I only had a brain. What are those smart people thinking? I don't know, but if I had a brain, I'd tell you, I'd be thinking some pretty good thoughts. That's what I do with that brain. Yeah, like what? Well, I don't know. Something. I'd be thinking something. If you were a poet, minstrel like David, who knew the Hebrew, who had a heart for Yahuwah, what do you think you'd be doing right now? I was talking to somebody, and they were talking to somebody, and the guy said, I wish that I had found this stuff 30 years ago. And so here's the concept. Here's a thought. What goes on in here. If you had found this stuff 30 years ago, what would you be doing right now? Well, I'd be thinking about this stuff because I'd hold it valuable, and I'd be pretty fluent at it. I'd be adept. I hope I would be. And I'd have it as one of my main priorities on my bracelet chain. So whenever I had the opportunity, I'd ponder it. Hey, guess what? You can do all those things right now. Yeah, but I don't really know it. Yeah, but it's always in a phase of becoming. So it's never something acquired or gained. I got that. It's always elusive. But you can do the exact same thing right now, brand new as a novelty, that you would be doing had you started 30 years ago. You could be having the same experience right now. You just have to start doing that. See, if 30 years ago you had found something that you really put your heart into, well, you'd maybe be a little bit more fluent with it now. Let's say if you really wanted to play music and you started 30 years ago, now you can just put your hand all over the fret neck of the guitar or the keyboard and you say, oh, now I'm having fun. I wish I could have fun now. Yeah, but see, fun's relative. And the more you know, the more frustrating it is that you can't do better. So the fun you're having is a relative thing. I mean, if a child can have fun playing chopsticks on the piano, or Bach can have fun doing some convoluted intellectual escapade on the keyboard, let's say, well, is it the same kind of fun? Fun is in the experience. Fun is in the feeling the wind blowing through the hair of your brain. There's a concept for you. If your brain had hair, not the outside skull, but your brain had hair, and that as you were thinking certain thoughts, it's like taking a Gila Nasia, a joyride, a journey of delight, and the hair of your brain, which is a nerve extension, blowing in the wind. And it's like, just, I love what it feels like to be thinking these thoughts. Pondering Yahweh's stuff and seeing where it goes. Just looking out at the landscape scenery as the wings of the Ruach and an Amarillo haze, restoring the Paleo days. An Amarillo haze? Just words from another song, inside joke. Anyway, is that Sharim? You can be having that now, even though you didn't start 30 years ago, even though you're just now new at this. It's just your personal experience. And if Yahusha, Shah, Shinayan, the delight. You see, his father spoke from heaven when Yahusha was being baptized at the Jordan River by John the Baptist, and he said, "This is my beloved son, in whom I am well pleased." Another time he said, "This is my beloved son, listen to him. I am well pleased." He was, the voice documented a state of the heart. I am delighted. That's the word Dodi. So the same voice that said, "This is my beloved," that's Dodi, son, that's Ben David. This is Ben David. This is son of David. This is my beloved son. Same words in Hebrew. I'm well pleased. Shinayan is to be pleased and delighted. Shasha, delightful. Yod He Vav, Yahu Shah. Yahoo! That's a thrill of delight. Yahu Shah. Yahweh saves. Well, yeah, he delights to save us. But the other way to read Yahusha is, he's my delight. Well, see, Yahuwah could be saying that about you, could be saying that about each one of us, just in general all the time, or it could be as we are finding delight in him. You see, again, there's this balancing of scales. And one of the things I mentioned a week or two ago was that there's this, that the scales being balanced is not just a verb action, but everything is built as this big scale beam of balancing. And us delighting in him is balanced by him delighting in us. And is it like, well, he's going to do that if we do that? And it's like, it's a statement of fact. He is delighted by his people delighting in him. That's not just, yeah, plug that into the equation and it works. That's the reality. He delights to see his people delight in him. So to be able to have that experience, well, ask him for the experience if you haven't had it. That is having a personal relationship with Yahusha, feeling the wind blow through the hair of your brain as you're thinking about pondering his stuff. And I'm saying these things and taking a little moment here because if I'm talking about them and you're thinking about that, you're having that experience to a degree. Even if you're going, what the heck is he talking about? Gosh, but the fact that it's the subject, the matter at hand, the subject on the table, here's the object in the middle of the table. Let's focus on this and talk about this. What I found is that as we are talking about certain matters, subjects, ideas, and everybody's brainstorming, putting your focus of attention, it's alive. You have the experience, positive or negative. It's a focus of energy. And as soon as we change subject and go on the next thing, poof, that's gone and it no longer exists. And that ride's over. That journey, that thrill of adventure of feeling the wind blowing through your hair, like on a motorcycle without a helmet or bicycle, is now gone. And what I found is that the benefit of pondering Yahweh's stuff, just like the sharim, the bracelet chain, the reason why when you go on vacation, people buy these little souvenirs, whether it's a little thing on a bracelet or whether it's sticking on a shelf or whether it's photographs, catch it on your phone, is because when you remember, it's like, oh yeah, boy, I remember how that felt. A guy told me once he was watching a movie on TV and a bunch of friends, and they were all talking. He said, "Hey, shut up! I want to watch that." And I said, "You've already seen the movie. You know what happened. Why are you upset?" And he says, "I like the way this movie makes me feel. I'm watching this movie to reenact the feeling, so I can have that feeling again. And I need to be able to concentrate and put my mind, my heart into the situation that the movie is providing me as the conduit to have that feeling." And I've found that verses do the same thing. Certain words, just reading the dictionary, reading the words in the Hebrew placed in the sentence does that. It's the conduit. It provides the occasion for feeling the wind blowing through your hair as if you were on that. My friend has a open carriage vehicle. It's a 100-year-old Rolls Royce. Beautiful sound of the engine. Looks like an old beater clunker. He keeps it going, but there's no seatbelts. There's no windows. And when you're driving through scenery, you're in the wide open. You feel every temperature change. You smell the sense of the different plants in the landscape you're going through. You're hearing birds and frogs and every movement, whether you step on it, whether you slow down, whether you just listen to the motor change. It's this whole experience. Reading the words in the Hebrew where you slowly ponder, sharim, you are that prince. You are that minstrel of your own heart, of your own experience. As you give yourself that place, that leniency, that space in time, find that space and time. Well, gee, Shabbat, what a wonderful occasion. The whole idea of doing nothing on Shabbat or don't work, yeah, well, what can I do? I remember somebody asked me that question. What am I supposed to do on Shabbat? And I said, the scripture instruction says make Shabbat. At least there's one place that says that. Make Asha Shabbat. Ein Shin Hey, which means make, do, produce. You make it Shabbat. How do you do that? You could say, get away from the phone, get away from the television. Even if you have just sit outside under an umbrella or in a little, covered place that you've made, a prayer closet, and sit there and ponder words. Think about that conversation. Think about Yahuwah. The Shabbat's a beautiful, wonderful, very convenient occasion to do that. When else are you going to do it? You're busy working. Other days of the week, you're busy thinking about your job, your responsibilities, the projects you were supposed to do, the things that haven't gotten done, the trash that needs to be taken out, the dishes, blah, blah, blah. But on Shabbat, it's like Yahuwah provided everybody at large, first week of Genesis creation, first couple of verses of Genesis, actually chapter 2 is where he established Shabbat. But what I'm saying is that, especially to his people, he said, make Shabbat, do Shabbat. Well, I don't feel like it. It's not about whether you feel like it, it's a command. He made the necessary things commands so that if we had the heart for doing what was commanded, all the necessary stuff would get handled and happen. Interesting sort of Gimel Lamed yin yang if then. He made the necessary things commands so that those who honored him and did his commands accomplished the necessary things. So the way the universe is built is that everything needs to have, as we've talked before, like 6 days of accomplishment and then finalized. And I mentioned about how I was recording a DVD a long time ago, spend hours putting together this whole DVD, numerous DVDs on this multiple burner. But I didn't realize you had to push the button that said finalize. And so you get them all done. You take the DVDs out, you send them to people. It's like, yeah, they can't open them. It's like, what's going on? Read the instructions. Push the finalize button. Are you kidding me? What? Why didn't they make it in big giant letters and say, if you don't hit the finalize button, nothing you did works? That's the Shabbat. Did Elohim build the universe so that there was 6 days of productive doing, accomplishing? But if you don't hit the finalize button, it's all going to fall apart. It's all going to disintegrate. It's all going to fail. What has that got to do with that? We don't know. He said he hit the finalize button and rested on the 7th day. And he said to his people in Leviticus 19, I'm Kadosh, therefore you're to be Kadosh. Because Israel's supposed to be his representative. Therefore, just like YHUH said, everything he does, Israel's supposed to do. Everything he does, Yeshua did. Everything Yeshua does, we're supposed to do. There's the model, there's the command. And why? Because when Israel does what Yahweh said to do, then the reason he did it happens. And if we don't, it's going to fall apart. And so Israel's job, that which belongs to Israel, is to do what Yahweh said to do so that what Yahweh wanted to accomplish can have its fruition and accomplish it. See, that's the SHIN. What is it that belongs to Israel? Everything he said to do. Israel's supposed to be his manifest people, his one and only. So then you look in Genesis 15 and it says, we'll look at this in a few weeks from now. Yahweh says to Abraham, step outside and look up at the heavens. It doesn't say at Hashemayim, very interesting. It says Hashemayim ha. There's a hey at the end of Shemayim, which means look at what, gaze at. The word is bet-tet or hey bet-tet, which means utterance, to stare, gaze at, and aspect and expression, habet. Like Yeshua said, whoever looks at when he is raised up, like Moshe lifted up the serpent on the stick, and same word, look at what the heavens express, make a distinction between internal and external, and according to the internal, as you sefer, as you elaborate the narrative story, so shall your descendants be. It's like not necessarily the external, but the internal. There's an internal story, so we're going to be looking at that in a few weeks from now, we'll be talking about the constellations, the Mazrut. But what I'm saying is, what did he tell Abraham? So shall your children be. In other words, something about the message in the stars is the SHIN, that which belongs to Israel, if Israel on the condition of doing what Yahweh said. If, Aleph Mem, on the condition, Aleph Mem, mother, womb, Aleph Mem. If Israel walks in Yahuwah's way, on Yahweh's derek, Yashar derek, straight right path, listening to Yahuwah's voice, shomering and shema'ing and asha'ing what Yahweh said to, then the SHIN, that which belongs to Israel in the Resh capacity, will happen, will manifest. That's what he told Abraham there in Genesis 15, but it's not translated in English that way. My point is, if David had all this in mind, and this is what, let's keep this concept of SHIN in mind looking through these other things. If Sharim is these difficult matters that are hard to contemplate, hard to understand necessarily, you listen to philosophers and you listen to scientists and you listen to teachers and you listen to other prophets of other religions, and he's like, what's going on? Listen to Yahweh's voice. What did he say to Abraham? What did he say to Moshe? What did he say to David? What did he say to Daniel? What did he say via Yahusha? Take these matters to heart. And when you see what this all is, it's so incredible. The next word, SHIN, rejoice, white linen, white satin, ecstasy. It's the number 6. But then there's the next word. The third word is SHIN Kuf Resh, lies, deception, falsehood, beguilement. The next word, SHIN Bet Ayin, 7, vow, fulfill the vow or be cursed. 6, lies. 7, what? 6,000 years? And there's supposed to be 7,000 years? Did we lose 1,000 years? Or with the edge of the 7th millennium? What's going on? It's like these words are bringing an issue up. We're told one thing, there's lies, there's a vow. Well, Israel vowed to be Yahweh's people. Yahweh vowed to be Israel's Elohim. There's a vow. Are we experiencing it? Well, there's a rejoicing at 6. What's the 7th? The Shabbat, the Shemitah year, the Jubilee. That part cut off Zion and retained for the promised future. The SHIN part is the 7th part cut off and held as your real license, authorized, permitted, belonging to you, your actual identity, your reward, your compensation, your promise of, I told you everything. He told Abraham, you have a very great reward. You have a very great reward. Your SHIN is extremely resh bet, madly, is what he said. With that in mind, the next word, shalom. Shalom, do it, satisfy the requirement, meet demand. It will pay off. And there's a deep inner, okay, shalom. Destroy the authority that establishes chaos. Quit thinking about those thoughts that make you feel, yeah, but what if it's not true? What if these isn't what this means? What if it's like, destroy that verbiage and remember El Shaddai, Yahuwah, the one who provides everything, the one who destroys all the opposition, the one who causes it to exist, the Most High, Elyon, has called us to be his people as the Most High of any status of Adam on the face of the earth. And he says, I have retained for you your portion. Consider it winning the lottery at the end of days. Oh, it's real. It's actual, matter of fact. And it's yours forever. Let that comfort your heart. The next word, SHIN Bet Resh Tav Yod. Tav Yod suffix, I am, I will. What's shiver? Hope, wait, inspect, examine, thresh. How do you thresh? How do you thresh grain? Tear it apart. It's like tearing apart the sentences, tearing apart the words, getting down to the letter. Bring it to birth, break the code, find the solution, interpret the dream. All that is Shin Bet Resh, which is the nature of this study. Then there's Shin Mem Resh Hey, Shamar Ra. Celebrate, observe, take heed. Be in the process of doing this process. And then there's a repetition, the final word, Shin Mem Resh Tav Yod. Shamar T, I will. I'm doing it. I am guarding, keeping watch, undefiled, filtered. I am in the process of. See, what did he say to Daniel? Continue on your way, go on your way. Just keep living your life, doing what you know you're supposed to do. And when you come to the end, you'll rest, and that which is yours, that you've been stashing in the treasuries of the heavens, you might say, store up treasures in heaven, as YHUH had said, it's here waiting for you. You'll have it. Is it up in the heavens, or he will give it to us as our status, as our resh status? Either way, I'm just saying those are the matters of looking at the first 8 words. Okay, so let's go on with what did David actually say. So verse 161, Sharim, there's that word, princes, or Shin Resh Yod He is camping, immersed, steeping, saturation. Shin Resh Yod Vav Nun, body armor, securing, coat of mail, armored car. So Sharim is not just princes singing, treasuring up, being able to put something into poetry, but it's also a fortification. It's also becoming, again, the Shin adjective of the Resh status. It's becoming the real you, the stature of your potential realized. Next word, Resh Dalet Pei Vav Nun Yod. Again, that's all suffix. Resh Dalet Pei, pursue, chase, drive away, strive ardently to reach, persecute, hound eagerly. It's like, chasing something. Chet Nun Mem. Chet Nun is the word for grace. Mem means it belongs to them, or it's plural. It's their camp or inclined toward, to park a car. Dabar ka. Mem, the place of, word, kaf suffix, yords. Or dabar is not just word, it's stipulations. The place of your stipulations, or mem can mean away from. So chet nun is the camp. They camp. Who camps? Pursuing, striving, chasing. So David could either be talking about an enemy chasing him, or he could say, I'm chasing this stuff down. What stuff? Everything I just spent the first hour plus talking about, which is the Shin stuff. See, if you read the first word, Shin Resh Yod Mem, Ram, Reem, Resh Mem is a high, great. Shin is the quality attribute of that. So it's not just singers or songs or princes. It's all the stuff that belongs to the greatest, highest regard, which is how do we make this life successful? Because we're going to end up being, raising from the dead and becoming who we are, who we've chosen to become. We turn into Resh, whether the Resh is what we wanted or not. Now's the time to make it what it could be. And at your word stipulations, next word, Pechet Dalit, is the word thigh, but it also means dread, fear, be in awe, object of fear, or great reward. So it's not like, I got to be afraid of that. It's like, no, this is the noteworthy matter. And then Lamed Bet Yod is, Yod suffix means my, Lamed Bet Lab, or Lav, Lavi is my heart. So the one greatest thing that my heart is wrapped around is, why does the universe exist? Why are we here? What's going on? And how do I maximize, you might say, the payoff? How do I maximize my future in the book of Acts, it talks about some people said, throw me to the lions. I'll die a martyr happily. Let the lions rip my flesh apart so I'll have a better resurrection. That concept of the better resurrection, the better resh status, that concept is, look at, maybe I've been a failure at everything I've done. I don't know how to play music. I don't know how to do gymnastics. I don't know how to even think about stuff, but at least I can throw my body to be burned as a sacrifice. Yeah, I'll do that. And it's like, well, gosh, is that what he's requiring? Some people have those thoughts. What I'm saying, that's what this verse is about. It's like, where do you aim to park your car? And if you think, I wish I'd done this 30 years ago, you can start today and have the same heart that you would have had 30 years ago. Nah, it's not worth it. I'll do what I've been doing. Well, there's where the problem is. But you can change that. Volitionally, you, for yourself, can change that. 162, verse 162, the next verse, Shin Shin 6, white, rejoicing. Anki, I am. Ayin Lamed, yoked to Amer Taka. Amer is like the bar. It's to speak, it's say, it's whatever you have said, I am yoked, I'm attached. Ayin Lamed. 2. Ka Motza. Kaf Mem Vav Zadi Aleph. Well, Zadi Aleph is go out, get out of here. Publish, emigrate, eject, go forth, export. It's also utterance, outlet, expedience. It's a privy, the outhouse, place of exit. Like Kaf Mem, the place, Vav Zadi Aleph, or like the thing which is thrown out. Well, the chaff, if you thresh grain, it's the chaff which that throws up and gets blown in the wind, so the grain which is heavier falls to the ground. So like separating chaff from grain, the next word, Shin Lamed Lamed, spoil, plunder, to remove, deny, negate, refuse, to withdraw sheaves, like removing the chaff. A bunch loosely bound, stitched together, chained or fettered, and then Resh Bet is great, many, multiplied, important. So it's like, well, what's he saying? Rejoicing, I am yoked to what you have said, like separating chaff. Greatly, I absolutely refuse to eliminate anything you said. I am so rejoicing, enthralled, enticed, consumed. Yeah, it was done away with, nailed to the cross. No, it's not. What are you throwing away? Is the baby in that bathwater? What are you doing? The bathwater's dirty. I thought it was all just dirty. There's the baby in there. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's where that comes from. You know, the bathwater used to get water they had to get from the stream and got to walk so far that it was hard to get water. You couldn't just have a constant flow. And so wash water would get so dirty that quite often valuable things got thrown out. When somebody thinks that the Torah is filth of a curse that was given to a bunch of nasty, stiff-necked, rebellious people, they don't want any part of it, they miss where the life is. That's what this is about. What has been rejected, which is of great treasured value? You won't know unless you go figure it out for yourself. Verse 163, lie, falsehood, sucker, Shin Kuf Resh. Shin Nun ALEF-TAV Yod. Well, if it's Tav Yod, I will, or I was, or I would be, Shin Nun Aleph, the word that I talked so much about earlier, meaning red, different, the number 2, otherwise, hatred, transformer, made hateful, repetition, changed. Shin Nun Aleph is Shana, which means something is not what it was before. There's been damage done by teeth, and whoever, whatever Yahuwah is, who Yeshua really is, there's an imposter. He's got a different character. That's why he's rejected by the people who can't believe what's become the archetype of a blasphemic false deity, an Elohim Akrim. Shin Nun ALEF-TAV Yod. But if Shin's the prefix, if I look at the word Nun ALEF-TAV Yod, Nun Aleph Hey means comely, befitting, please, now, beautiful, positive, pasture, meadow. The beautiful reality has been ripped up and made distorted and ugly and modified, changed. And if, let's just make up a story, if the Jews recognize that the Christian Jesus Christ is not identical echad with Yahuwah, Zavot, the Elohim of Israel, they have every right justifiably to reject him, and they're not blaspheming the Savior. Think about that. He deserves to be rejected if he's different, if he's Shana at all with the echadness of his Father, who gave us the 10 Commandments and the Moedim and the Sabbath day and the mitzvot and chok and Torah that Yahusha was the manifest heart expression of in human form. Then every Christian who hates the Torah law hates Yahweh, hates their God, hates who they think their God is, who he's not, because he's, in other words, then you jump into 1 John 3, a whole book of 1 John, and John says, if you don't love, you don't know Elohim, because Elohim is love. If you don't love is a capacity of the heart, but if you don't love what he said, you don't know him, because everything he had said was an expression of him. And if you hate the law, you're hating him, because the law is simply the way things are. It's the necessary things. You got to be doing these things in order for everything else to happen. It's like if you say, I hate those dang honeybees, I got to get rid of the honeybees. Well, but I love flowers and fruits and vegetables. It's like, get rid of the honeybees. You're not going to have any fruits and vegetables. You got to have them both. One goes with the other. Yahweh made the law telling his people to do them so that everything else will happen as it's supposed to. So until Israel does what it's supposed to, nothing's going to happen the way was supposed to happen, or the way it was prophesied to happen. Israel's must walk in the ways of keeping his command law in order for everything that was ever promised to flourish. So any believer who thinks that they shouldn't keep the law doesn't get it, because they've been lied to. Something was made hateful, transformed, changed. Shana, T, second word of verse 163. And ALEF-TAV Bet Hey. TAV Bet means abhor, abominate, loathe, synonym with Shin Mem Zadi. Torah Taka, your Torah, ALEF-BEIT TAV Yod, I have loved. I love your Torah. Anything changed, I loathe and abhor it. See, David wasn't just being poetic as a minstrel. He was realizing, if I don't value what Yahweh said, then I'm not valuing the thing of greatest treasure. If I listen to the voice of somebody who lies to me and they rob it from me, it's like Adam and Hua not valuing the status they had in the garden because they listened to the voice of the serpent who said, hey, he's lying to you. He's ripping you off. You could be like him, but you're just living in this stupid garden. Hey, yeah, really? Hey, well, we should eat that fruit he said not to eat. They despised what they had been given, which was the best. Eden means Edenic, hedonism, everything wonderful, pleasurable, delight, everything just maxed out at full pleasant value, exquisite delight. And by listening to the voice of the serpent, it's like, oh, you mean this old junk, this lousy, stupid stuff? He's holding out. You could have something better if you did what he said not to do. That same voice is what David abhors, the swindling, defrauding deception, falsehood. Verse 164, Shin Bet Ayin, the number 7, the word vow, oath, curse, fulfill, surfeited, full to overflows, to satisfy, Beyom, on the day of Hey Lamed Lamed Tav Yod Kaf. Well, Hey Lamed Lamed is where you get hallelujah, praise, illumination. I will exult, be ecstatic. But it also means foolish. I will, to fulfill the vow on the day of your hallelujah. Ayin Lamed yoked with Mishfati. See, the fact that it's Yod at the end means my balancing of scales, or I'm going to get what's coming to me. I know that there's a vow that I swore because you swore and you said it. So that's the vow. All I have to do is listen to what you said, and it's leolam, it's eternal. It can't be otherwise. It can't be done away with because you said it, Yahuwah. And so because you're righteous, the last word, zadedka, because you are righteous, you will manifest my compensation, my recompense, which is yoked with, you said. Who you said, if I listen to your voice, you'll listen to my voice. You said that if I love your who you are, your way, your words, your being, the essence of everything you've made and everything you emanate and project and manifest. If I love that, who you are, the way you've expressed everything, that you love that and you'll love me, not just I'm a human being, of course you'll love me. He loves everybody. It's a different thing. There's a mishpat balancing of equation. So I could say my resh possible task is developing an attitude of love for his stuff. I can choose to love. I can choose to chip away the resistance of my inner being, my sin, my lack, my shortcoming. I can say, I want to be a better man. I don't want to harbor the things that are counter to him. I don't want to have an attitude which is not like his attitude. I don't want to have an attitude that he disapproves of. I don't want to have an attitude that I know will bring me ruin because it's not the good stuff. It's not his stuff. It's not even good for any human. So I'm going to block those things. I'm going to get rid of those things. I'm going to stop having those thoughts or whatever that means. What does it mean to repent? Is what it means. The word hey lamed lamed tav yod is, well, hey lamed vav lamed hey is jubilation. I will boast myself happily, foolishly being ecstatic over 7. See, just that word 7 is the whole package. Kind of like saying the ALEF-BEIT, the ALEF-TAV. It's like in every word, can you see the whole thing? In the word shalom, can you see the whole thing? In the word shavah, 7, can you see it? In the word shomer, can you see the whole thing? In the word ALEF-TAV, can you see the whole thing? Can you see the shining essence, the sheen of the whole matter? Can you see that glowing, emanating from the source of his pure being, which is what people who have gone to near-death experiences and come back and said, it's like they feel love, they feel light, but it's not a thing. It's the essence of being, that same type. 165, shalom, peace, safety, secure, solid, tranquil, at ease, carefree, completeness, soundness, health and welfare, well-being, Rab, resh bet, great, important, multiplied, very much so, la'ahavi, belonging to, due to my love of your Torah, torteka, va'ain lamo, and ain't without, or it's not for nothing, mem kaf, shin vav lamed. Well, shin vav lamed is marginal, the hem of a robe. It's being an apprentice. Shin vav lamed, shul. Kaf shin lamed. Kaf shin vav lamed. This is kaf shin lamed. To stumble, feeble, fail, stagger, misleading. Like an apprentice who does stuff wrong, who's learning how to do it right. Subject to overthrow, downfall, weakness. Kaf shin lamed vav nun. Kashalon, same sort of thing. Shin lamed, shin vav lamed, shal shul, to let something down. It's the word for diarrhea, chained together, inserted into. Shin vav lamed lamed. Looking at derivatives words, see mem kaf, shin vav lamed. Mem is the object, the place of or away from. Kaf is like. Negated, barefoot, not barefoot like you're grounding, but barefoot like somebody stole your shoes, or you can't afford shoes, or you're at a disability of being impoverished. An opponent plundered or robbed what you have. There's nothing about your Torah which is robbery. There's nothing about your Torah which will disable me There's nothing about me studying your Torah which will rob me of any benefit. And if it means quit eating pork, I like pork, I like bacon. Hey, take your shoes off and step on the grass. Take our shoes off, Moshe. You're on holy ground. There's a time and a place to take your shoes off. He's not humbling you or crippling you or robbing you. He's bettering you. Everything the Torah says is a betterment, a sheening. But when it says Lamed Aleph-BEIT Hey, belonging to or due to my love of your Torah, see, the heart attitude conditions what you get. What I was trying to describe before, I was talking to a friend and he was saying, now that they've been reading the Torah, even if they're not reading in Hebrew all the time, they've been developing that. But, 10, 15, 20 years ago, they started, okay, I'm going to read the Torah. Okay, I'm going to keep Shabbat. I don't get it. I don't like it. I don't understand it, but I'll do it. And after a number of years, it's like, when I go back and I read, I see things differently now because it's affected my vision. It's affected my heart. Just the constant washing over, repeated, going over, keeping the Shabbat, another Moedim, it has an effect. It has a infinitesimally micro, able to calculate maybe a big effect that we don't see, but over the period of time, over the 30 years or whatever, it has an effect. And you can't regain the 30 years. I'm saying you could get back up to speed, but 30 years is 30 years. It's a lot can be accomplished. But what I'm saying is that the best way to be in a better place 30 years from now is to start now having a heart, because it's having the heart for the Torah. Well, see, that's counter to what's taught. I've heard the words, it's horrible, it's a curse, bad laws, nobody can live by. I've heard people translate Ezekiel 20 meaning the Torah, and it's like, that's a lie, that's wrong, that's misinterpreting. Well, somebody believes it, but it's like, I'm not going to believe it. I don't choose to believe those words. And if I conduct my heart to find shalom rav, great shalom, if I conduct my heart to be in the space of shalom rav, feeling, understanding, believing that this is Yahweh's best, greatest promises of gifting, of expressing love, and is what we hope for, and is what he's going to manifest, and it's real, and it's positive, and nobody can rob me of it, I'm going to have a whole different attitude reading. And when I go back and start reading with that attitude, everything's going to be seen differently. Verse 166, Shivarti, hope, look for, inspect, examine, break into pieces, tear, rent, demolish, ruin, smash, cracked corn grits, break it down. If you break down matter, wood, metal, water, you get atoms. If you break down atoms, you get electrons, protons, quarks. If you break down words, you get letters. It's the same process. It also bring to birth, calamity, rupture, hernia, breach, fracture, break a dream, interpret a solution, a staccato trumpet sound. That's shivar, shiver, shibarti. Lamed Yod Shin Vav Ayin Tav Kaf. Well, Shin Vav Ayin, Shua. Hey, that's the root meaning of the word, the promise of help. Lamed Yod Shin is the word lion. It also means kneading dough. Well, I've seen a cat, not a lion, but I've seen a cat sitting there and like kneading dough with its paws. That act of sit there, well, that's kind of like the process of, breaking down these words and tearing them apart and looking at them letter by letter. That's where I think break down everything. The next word, Yahuwah. The next thing, Vav, Mem Tav Vav Tav, Mem Zadi Vav Tav, Metzvot, what you have commanded, Yod Kaf, Ayin Shin Yod Tav Yod. I will do. I'm doing it. I'm doing everything you commanded. I'm sitting there looking through the scripture saying, what did he say to do? Did I miss something? If I listen to the preacher, if I read the books, listen to the worship songs, I might miss it. But if I learn how to read the Hebrew, open up the book, and I scan through the English and say, oh, he said to do something here. Let me look at the Hebrew words and say, how did he say it? What did he say? What do these letters mean? How do I do what he said to do? and then I conduct my heart with the shalom rav of love, see, I become changed. I become sheened, shinad. I become changed and transformed into his radiant splendor. But if I change his words, my resh status is changed to that of a rascal, a punk, bad steward. See, I can sit there and just play with all these words and looking at the way that they each play out. Like a lion mauling its prey, I'm tearing apart every word down to every letter, every pair of letters, analyzing every encoded pattern, looking at every command you voiced, every stipulation, condition, or the conditional terms of if this, then that. Every time he says if, okay, if what? I'm going to find out how to do the play into the positive if side. 167 verse. Shamara, watching, guarding, observing, tending to, maintaining, doing that shamar thing. Nun pei shin yod. Nephesh, my soul, my animation. I'm gonna guard my mind, my soul. Sanity management. I don't like that. Well, then quit not liking it. What? That's right. Soul, rejoice in. David talked to himself sometimes. Self-talk. I've found myself over the years saying horrible, terrible things. It's like, yeah, well, they're true. Shut up. It doesn't matter whether part of you thinks they're true. Self-talk, sanity management, you better learn that words send out ripples and vibration, and that whole woo-woo, la-la land frequency stuff isn't so wrong. It has effect. And sometimes the New Agers, let's call them in that classification, might be more aware of reality than doctrinal students of theology. We don't believe that. Well, too bad for you. Other people seem to know it's real. But then I've heard other people say, hey, they were practitioners of these various things and their doctrines of demons. And it's like, all right, what's the reality? If it's built into nature, there's a certain degree of reality. The yod of the yod he vav he, if yod he vav he can be attributed to what he built into nature, yod, the hand of the creator, hey, the expression of the creator, hey, that would be the Torah, vav, the man, the number 6, the 6th letter, the male suffix, the Mashiach, who's the human manifestation of the hey Torah. And then YHUH said, I'll go away and leave you my Ruach to lead you into the ways of truth. So the second hey equals the first hey, which is the Ruach, having us comprehend and walk in the ways of the Torah, just like YHUH did. Yod He Vav He, 4 ways to read that, in which hey is, or the Vav is not destruction. It's the one who is connecting. What did the Torah say? And what am I now going to manifest? That's transmogrification. That's a sheening, a transforming of theory or instruction into practical manifest. But hey equals hey. Again, I'm not putting somebody down for what they think or what they say, but I'm trying to listen to these different things and fit them into my own conscious indexing to where it all fits. It's all the echad voice. Every word, every letter, every verse fills in the whole picture, where every little detail is harmoniously in agreement with the way things really work. The next word, ayin dalet tav yod kaf. Well, kaf suffix means your, tav yod means I have. Ayin dalet is testimony. But ayin dalet is also bejewelment, story, witness, metaphors, patterns, creation. Tav ayin dalet means to document. There's no tav here. It's ayin dalet tav yod, but I'm saying the word, one of the processes is to put other suffixes in front of the letters and look them up in the dictionary. Tav ayin dalet means to document. So I could say, I can attest to your bejewelment, stories, metaphors, patterns, creation, because I can document it. I can see it. I can experience it. I can hear other people's stories. I can make logical sense, and I can see it all fit in nature and fit the pattern, fit the picture. And I love them madly. Ve'ahavam me'ad. Sanity management. Look at what's going on. Look at what he said. Look at the stories and see it as this whole big picture. Here we are at SHIN. Look back at the meaning of every one of these letters and see that the glowing manifest of the reality in each one of these letters seen in the right way. There's the whole ALEF-BEIT, which is the ALEF-TAV, which is YHUH's face shining, which is the manifest of the invisible Father, Spirit, Elohim, shining through YHUH, shining through his words, as in John 1:1. Can you behold that? Can you resh Aleph, hey, that? To experience that sheening, hallelujah, the response of getting that. The last word, the last verse, 168, shamarti, I have, guard, keep, observe, and remove the dregs, get rid of all the stuff that's wrong, that's error, that's bad doctrine, which isn't true. Hey, kuf, vav, dalet, yod. There's that word, pakud, fakad. You have entrusted me with a list of things to keep, to invest, to account for your precepts. You gave me the understanding of these things, and you're holding me accountable for what am I doing with them? How am I investing them? Like the talents that the parable YHUH gave. What are we doing with this ability to see, to comprehend, to understand, to perceive the way the universe actually works? And then this word vav, ayin dalet tav yod kaf, your precepts and your testimonies, to take what he gave us, that we are alive now. Here it is, 2025. A lot of people aren't alive now. Haven't been born yet, or maybe they've already been here and left. But we're alive now. That's one of the things he's given us. What are we doing with this occasion? Looking at the testimonies of his stories we have, you might say, in the scripture. Then, so, because, kaf yod, call dereki, all my path, my journey, my manner, my conduct. The last word here is nun gimel dalet kaf, negadka. Nagadka. Well, nun gimel dalet, rise high, make conspicuous, to stand in somebody's way and to obstruct, confronting, hounding, nagging, strike, beat, hammer. It's hammer time. Remember the MC Hammer had that song, resistor, oppose, contradict, against. But it's also make known an announcement, courageously mouthed off in the presence of your face. It's also the word for wife, someone who's courageous enough to mouth off in your face. It's like, what? It's also the word for a tugboat. So you have this massive ship, and the tugboat is trying to push it this way or that way, or lead it to it in the safe harbor. Those are all the words there. The idea that like I said, he gave us a list of commands of necessary things, so that by keeping the commands, we'll do what's necessary. And what necessary plays into a higher understanding of what's going on in the universe. One of the things is, if you work, you have to hit the finalize button. That's just the way it's built. He did it, and then he said, well, his people have to do it. And as people don't do it, something's going to fall apart. The Shemitah year, don't plant and reap, is like a finalize button. The Yovel, the Jubilee, a finalize button. There's more conversation about that could be had. But what I'm saying is that just to get on board with what he said, I have found to be a great contradiction of, let's say, 2,000 years of Christian church teaching and another couple thousand years of, let's just call it Jewish teaching, rabbinical teaching. And I haven't studied the other religions, the big ones, Islam, Hindu, Buddhist, Tao, whatever, various other, there's thousands of religions. I don't know them all. I don't even want to investigate them because I choose to believe that the Bible, these books, these words are the absolute truth. And then so my task is to say, yeah, well, then what does that say and what does that mean? If there's another religion which doesn't acknowledge that authority of the Bible, then I'm not going to waste my time. I don't have the time. It's like, yeah, well, there might be some good stuff here. Warren Buffett's 520. Take the 5 most important things, and it's the other 20 things which are good, which are interesting, which you really want to attend to. They're your enemy. They'll distract you from. Okay, I had a friend years ago. He wanted to play the piano and the guitar and these other instruments, and he realized I got to focus on piano because that's my own thing. Well, he later picked up and he plays masterfully these other instruments as well. But for a period of time, he had to just focus all his attention on the one thing he wanted to master. Picking up the second instrument instead of focusing it on the keyboard was the enemy, was the distraction. And the concept of saying, what does it mean to be Israel? Yeah, well, I used to be owner of a company, and we did all these jobs, and I was a gymnast and a musician. Whatever you were, none of that stuff matters. Who do you want to be now? You did that. Okay, that's on your resume. But how much time is left on planet Earth for you or for the people at large? Or asteroids coming, volcanoes are going to blow. We have hurricanes and tornadoes. None of us know how much time we have left. If now was a critical consideration, how much time is left? Why not learn what Yahweh said? Make that your portfolio. What a concept. Having a heart for Yahweh's Torah, your heart for Yahweh's words, knowing what he said, and at least wanting to do it, if not actually doing it, that could be on your resume when you get to the glory land in the by and by. In the sky. Of course, if he comes back and he says, hey, we're coming back to Earth, what are you doing? Hey, come on back. New Jerusalem's going to be hovering right above the planet. You're going to make a new heaven and new earth, and the new earth is made for people to inhabit and dwell on, and for the 1,000 years plus for the old one plus the new one. Hey, listen, we might not spend eternity in heaven. There might be a different way to read that. I'm just saying that the attitude of the SHIN, having a radiant heart for the real Yahuwah. And if my imaginary God, for some reason, was erroneously placed, if my God doesn't have the same commands that Yahweh Zavot, the Elohim of Israel, commands, if what he says to look to and attend to and have a heart for isn't the same things that Yahweh Zavot, the Elohim of Israel, has a heart for and tells his people to attend to, then I've got a fake. And I had to deal with the discrepancy. And I was talking to somebody the other day. In talking to a pastor, somebody said, hey, how come 3 days and 3 nights can't calculate Shin Bet arithmetically with being crucified Friday afternoon and raising Sunday morning? You can't get 3 days and 3 nights out of that. Well, that's just what it says. That was the answer. That's just what it says. Or that's just what we believe. Or you quit causing trouble or get out of here. I've heard that answer before too. Shouldn't I notice the discrepancy? Is that what you're telling me, Mr. Preacher Man? It's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, Toto the dog runs behind the curtain and he starts yanking at it, and everybody goes to chase down and get Toto, and they see this guy standing behind there pulling the switchers of the machine, projecting the big glowing face. He says, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Pay no attention to the discrepancies. Really? Whose voice is that? I'm your God. I'm telling you, don't pay any attention to the discrepancies. Really? SHIN says, if there's a discrepancy, eject it and filter the dregs to find the pure, the true. That should be the attribute of being the Resh man. There was a couple other things I wanted to address. If you looked at, like I said before, the Kufov, the Zadivav, Betvav, what do those words mean? Look at Shin Vav, in this case, Shin Vav Hey means equal in value, worth, proportion, comparison, equivalent, level, smooth, compromise, harmonize, agree, put place. Shin Vav Yod, value, worth, price. Shin Vav Yod Vav Nun, worth, value, equality. See, if Shin is that which belongs to, Vav is the masculine suffix, it, they, the capacity, that which belongs to the Vav. Well, Yeshua said, I'm echad with my Father. If you've seen me, you've seen him, because I only say and do what I see him say and do. So just even be able to look at the letters, the word spelled Shin Vav Hey is that which belongs to the Vav, whatever he expressed, is what he was getting sheening from Elohim himself. See, there's a way to say, well, there's a way to look at that and say, well, that's kind of like almost like a video, a picture, imaginary picture of what's happening in the other side of Aleph. I started to say a while ago that there was a talk I did saying Aleph is everything that's Elohim and Bet put into creation. But then if we think of there's a point like the, you might say the Cartesian coordinate graph, X, Y, Z, and at the center point, on this side, you got Aleph, then on the other side, you got negative Aleph, negative Bet, negative Gimel. I went through that whole talk, and it's like, what we see projected here, we have no idea what's over there. But what if it's the direct inverse? And I tried to elaborate that concept. So that's what we have. We have the manifest in Resh Aleph Hey on exhibition, perceptible, that which is otherwise imperceptible, at least by the five senses that humans are given, even if we have a sixth sense or whatever. The stuff of that beingness is not fit. It's almost like we don't perceive X-rays. We don't perceive ultra low or ultra high electromagnetic signals. They exist, but the human being is only allowed to hear and see a certain short wavelength span. So to everything else that exists beyond our ability to perceive and calculate, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That's this other stuff that you can sheen. If what he manifests, there's a certain equality with what isn't manifest. Then you look at Shin Vav Mem, which is where you get Shem, name, Shin Mem, Shin Vav Mem, giving the sense, making to understand, set, put, placed, laid, imposed, assess, evaluate, estimate, appraise. That's all synonym with the word Ayin Resh Kaf, Eric. It's the word for garlic, Shin Vav Mem, to name something, to give something a figurement, ordained, appointed, fashioned, transformed. That's Shin Yod Mem. See, the Shinness, that which belongs to what Yod or Vav, that which is manifest, the attributes of the manifest. I'm just trying to say this concept of saying what's Shin compared to Resh. If you live your life, then you're raised from the dead and you get what's coming to you. If it's either the teeth of fire or it's the refining fire, which gives you the metaphorical precious jewels of who you've become, the crown that in the book of Revelation, people throw back at Yahush's feet. It's all that same stuff. The idea of going to Genesis 15:5, address that real quick. If on the condition of suffering them, declare to him, so will your offspring be. That word on the condition of is Tavav Kaf Lamed. it means mediate, relay, internal, in the midst, or interpose with two equal parts. But when he says step outside and say, look at this, the word for outside, he says yod vav zadi aleph, that's go out or export, ALEF-TAV vav, him, and then it says hey het vav zadi hey, which means outside, exception, external, or divide into two parts. So here's the interesting, in this verse, both those words mean divide something into two parts. One means external and the other one means internal. And then to sefer, ALEF-TAV mem, to sefer is where we get the word cipher, which means count number, but it's also connect the dots. For a barber to give shape to hair, to establish a fence line, you put in posts and you run the lines between it, to establish a frontier, to set up forts, and then the imaginary line between, kept by a military sentry, you might say, is what establishes the domain, the held territory of this nation compared to another one. That's what Abraham was told to do. And he says, so so yod hey, ya, ye. Like I said, don't allow to exist. He said, so certainly does exist your offspring. And so this idea that the offspring of Abraham have something which does exist, which is theirs, correlated to the stars, but it's the internal of the stars. They're held within the external. So the same way that a word is built, a letter, nun samic, or samic nun, hey samic nun, hey, the bush. There's this orthography, like the menorah, the samic shape, like a tree, like a skeleton. And then there's the life, the nun, the nephesh, the animation within the structure. The same way we're processing, what does that letter mean? What does that word mean? The communication, Mashiach is the object, the manifest word made flesh of the communication. So Yeshua is the whole ALEF-BEIT, which is the ALEF-TAV in human form. What did he say? He only says what he hears his Father saying. So John 1 is regarding him, just to be able to see all that. And then you realize the Zion Resh Ayin of Abraham, the offspring thrown like seed into the future, have this QOOF-YOD hope of a Zadi Vav blossoming, of a SHIN Vav. It's their possession. Has it happened yet? What is it? Yeah, it's for the kingdom come, but he made certain promises, which if we walked in his ways, and as long as the teaching goes, there's no ways to walk in. It's nailed to the cross. You'll make him sad. You'll blaspheme him if you go back to the Torah. If you go back to the law, you're scorning his grace. It's like, that's not true. It's not true, sucker. Shin Kuf Resh. Okay, then how do we, again, that word tav vav kaf lamed, if you put a different prefix, mem kaf lamed hey is pen, like a sheepfold, to contain. It's a water tank. It means complete, perfected. Mem kaf lamed, from the midst of, crowned, made splendorous, included, encyclopedia, complex, from the generality to the splendor. So this whole idea is, okay, everybody has the same constellations. They came from way back when. But Abraham, you go out and you see what's in the heart, and you tell that story, and that's the story of your children. It's in the heart of those constellations. So here's the Shin of 119. Next week we'll do the Tav of 119, and then I was going to go over the chart to bring that back up to issue as a way of recalibrating the chart, the thing just called the chart, made in 2010. And we'll have a conclusion week to this, a couple weeks of conclusion. And then I was thinking of trying to delve into the constellations, the Mazarot, just so you know. I've been wanting to do that for quite a few years, and that's the aim. But here's the thing. The word mem kaf lamed is crowned, made splendorous, from the generality to the what's inside at the heart. But Yod-Kaf-Lamed, to have the power capacity to prevail, to contain it all. Tav-Kaf-Lamed, end, purpose, boundary, like putting out the frontier line, limit, completed, finished, finale, final, musical score, aim, intention. The word teleological, like telescope, is the logical far extent of what's this all about. Well, here we're at the SHIN, which is in the ALEF-BEIT, the teleological extent. And there's a whole list of words, verses. I'll read them through for you real quick, give you the addresses anyway. Of SHIN is the monogram letter of El Shaddai, but SHIN fire is also Yahuwah's heraldry. In other words, you see a picture of the devil sitting on the throne in hell, and he's got his pitchfork on his throne of the fire. Wait a minute. That's a picture of the book of Revelation and Daniel and Ezekiel where El Shaddai, Yahuwah, sits on a throne surrounded by fire. And the SHIN is the three-letter or the three-prong monogram, like the trident pitchfork. Is the picture of the devil sitting in hell usurped the imagery of what Yahweh showed some people of this kind of a graphic motif of his own grandeur? Tav, Kaf, Lamed, end, purpose, boundary, limit, aim, intention. But Takal or Techelet is also the color blue, which is the color. Karen Davis did a song in the lyrics where she sang, I heard on the CD, she sang Tehillim Israel. I said, what is she saying? I didn't know the language. And I looked at it in the English. It says, the color of your people, Israel. That's not what she didn't say the words, the color of your people. She said Tehillim. Well, Tehillim is the Israeli way to say blue. And whether it's sky blue or a greenish blue or a purplish blue, it's various phases of blue. That's why the Israeli flag has blue on a white background. But the word for blue, purple, red, white is Tehillim, which is Tav, Kaf, Lamed. And I'm just saying, it comes from this word here in Genesis 15:5. If, Aleph Mem, Tav, Vav, Kaf, Lamed, by sephering them. If you prevail, if you contain it all, if you can map out the boundary, the limit, the narrative story, if you can count them all. Nobody can count. Okay, we're done. No. He was telling Abraham, the story of your offspring, of your progeny, of your family history is going to be in these stars. Now you come up with the story, and I'll take that into consideration for making it so. I believe that's what Yahuwah said. The word for astronomer is Tav Kaf Nun or Tav Vav Kaf Nun. Tav Kaf Nun also, because the word Kaf Nun is yes. Tav is just that, you might call it an arbitrary prefix, but not just yes, it means weigh, examine, estimate, adjusted, made right, meted out, regulated, fixed, measurement, fixed amount, contents, design, designer, planning, programming, plan, pattern, draft, or sketch. All that is Tav Kaf Nun. Yeah, but if you think about it, all that is what the SHIN of the Resh ends up being, because of how the Resh decided to live his life or her life, or who you decided to be is weighed, examined, estimated, measured, the fixed amount. The design of all that is your SHIN that you the Resh will be wearing, carrying with you throughout eternity. Just saying, if you're still breathing, you can turn this regard of Yahuwah and all his stuff into who you will actually become. There's one other thing to the phrase for this throne surrounded by fire, Ezekiel 1 verses 26 to 28, Daniel 7:9, Daniel 10:6, Revelation 19 verses 12 to 15, and Revelation 2 verse 18. There's some of this other stuff here that I'll send Nicholas. You can put it up there. Let me just read a list of some. let me say this one other thing. In Psalms 133, sorry, let me just take a little bit longer and read a couple other things. If the SHIN is devouring teeth or fire, then the last phase of action, TAV is either means the end or the last thing that happens at the end, or signing off at the end, like the curtain coming and saying the end. So if SHIN represents shad, which is soft and cuddly nurturing, SHIN itself is the opposite, teeth and fire, aggression, that which destroys, absolute annihilation. Which means you return to the state of tohu vebohu. If SHIN is teeth and fire annihilating, tohu vebohu was the original state in Genesis 1, the second verse, translated formless and void. No atoms for elements, no electrons or protons or particles or waves. And even if that was the case, at the end of the ALEF-BEIT song, it says, still the offer yet remains Chayim Era Olam, for the simple Brit of love and death is ALEF-BEIT, his song. So that phrase Chayim Era Olam is found in Psalm 133, verse 3, where it says basically, like the dew, Kaf Tet Lamed. Then there's the word for spreading a net, Chet Resh Mem, devoted, consecrated, band, destruction, contraband. Then the word Shin Resh Yod Dalet, survivor, rescued, escaped, ran away, remnant. Ayin Lamed, hyphenated with Hey Resh Resh Yod, Ha-ha-ri. Well, that word they say is like, you might say, like the previous verse was saying, picture Aaron being anointed. The oil was poured on his head and the oil was running down his hair and his beard. And David was describing this beautiful picture. Like the oil running down Aaron's face and beard, so too, this picture of something pouring like, flowing like slime from the mountains of Zion, Zadi Yod Vav Nun, because there, Ki Shem, Zadi Vav He, Yahweh, the command of Yahweh, ALEF-TAV He Baraka, Yahweh commands the blessing, Chayim et Olam, there's that phrase. It's the last word of the last chapter of Psalm 133, just 3 verses. Live forever. But see, here's another interesting thing that I wanted to bring up, that it's like, is he just saying, oh, just like pouring the oil on the head of Aaron and it flows down, so this beautiful notion that Yahweh can command the blessing, hey, live forever, and okay, that's like oil flowing down over Aaron's face, but there's something else going on here. Hey, Resh Resh Yod means growing in the mountains. That's Resh Yod Resh, Harari, like the people that made the harps over in Jerusalem. Zion, well, that's not just Mount Zion, that's doing what he said. Zadi Vav is command, Zadi Yod is he who gives the blossoming command, Yod Vav Nun, having to do with, it's like, and then the word, because there, Zadi Vav Hey, is the command. In other words, Yahuwah has built the whole universe, that when he gives a command and somebody keeps the command, then the command, another invisible command on the opposite side that we don't see, is that when somebody keeps the command is there's a flourishing of Chayim El Olam. And it's the surviving remnant, the Shin Yod Resh Dalet, that have run away, remaining alive, which means they didn't fall for the lie. They didn't fall for the distortion. They didn't fall for the Shinun Aleph of the change of the reality. They didn't step into the Het Resh Mem net that had been thrown to capture those who would not regard the Shin or the Zadi Vav of Yahweh. See, there's this, what I'm saying is that in this verse, there's an implied balancing of scales. Yahweh built the universe, that he gave commands, that whoever keeps his commands it's commanded that the universe will respond with zodiness, restoration, resurrection of life. Even if you die, there's the resurrection, there's the zodi. And what you do is you become that one that you chose to be. And so, like he said in Daniel 12, arise to your portion, like winning the lottery at the end of days. It's all been tallied. It's all been accounted for. Everything has been stored up for you. And to realize that's our hope, that's our reality, and that we can affect what that is now, today, by having the heart and the behavior to Shema, Shin Mem Ayin, Shomer, Shin Mem Resh, Asha, do it, Ayin Shin Hey. Make it your possession, ponder Shin Samek Lamed Yod. I'm going to weigh, measure, keep that which belongs to me. See, this Shin is not just this concept, this adjective, this shining. You can choose to make it your reality. It is your eternal future being. And there's this just interesting, there's a product, there's an object, a thing called Shila-Ji. Kind of sounds like the Shin. Looked in the dictionary online, it says it provides a hyper-concentrated supply of 84 of the 102 minerals that are essential for filling in gaps in nutritional intake. It's a sticky, dark, resinous substance, predominantly in the Himalaya mountains above 17,000 feet. Has fulvic acid, antioxidant, helps to absorb minerals, detox, anti-inflammatory, has two unique molecules found nowhere else in nature. It's known as the destroyer of weakness and the conqueror of mountains. What it gives you, hey, that's like El Shaddai. It destroys weakness. Hey, that's like El Shaddai. It forms over centuries from slow decomposition of plants like coal tar. Interesting that this substance that they find when wild animals locate it, I guess is one way to say wild animals come from miles around to lick this stuff up. Tastes pretty nasty. You can buy it. There's different products. But the idea of finding this treasure that took hundreds, maybe thousands of years. Well, Yahweh banished his northern kingdom for 2,730 years. Why? Because that's how long it took. Why did he banish them for 40 years from entering the promised land? 40 days, just like you went scouting, that you had a bad attitude. 40 years is the balancing of scales to purge that contamination. You work for 6 years, and then 1 year you let the land lay fallow. You work for 7 sevens, and then the Jubilee years, the one more year, you let the land lay fallow. You let it recover. There's the balancing. So he's provided this thing called Shila-Ji as this substance, whether or not anybody agrees, it's maybe wacko stuff, but the point is, it's supposed to clear your mind and make you feel healthy and revitalize what you've been missing out on. Because other people have ruined air, water, food to provide you what you need. It's kind of like everything that's been robbed of us is in this Torah that's taken thousands of years to refine it down to the benefits that we now can look at and receive, correlating the Torah to not to some other authority, but Yahweh's reality. Law, not for the sake of law, but law for he commanded that when his people do what he says, other things in the universe happen, and that's the law. And anybody then to realize that the way this works is anybody who tells you don't do that, that's the voice in the garden of the serpent telling Adam and Eve, don't do what Yahweh said, you'll be better off for it. No, they won't. That's a lie. That's deception, sucker. Shin QOOF Resh. Let's just go back. We have time. We can do it now. Let's just go back and do what he said to do. What did he say to do? Well, let's figure it out. Let's read what he said, do what he said to do, and the recovery is promised automatic. Not only will we benefit unto eternity, but the effect, how many of who has to do what, when, with what heart, for how long, before it'll have its impact. Immediate. Every drop is the immediate. I mentioned the story. I'll mention it again. I was up in Montana, and somebody had this kind of a small lake, a big pond on their property, perfectly still, not a movement. clouds came over, and I was standing there just looking at it, appreciating this perfectly still surface of the Mayim. One drop of rain hit the center of that, and I one drop, and I noticed the ripple just slowly, and it kept moving, kept moving. It went out to the QOOF-YOD-TET, the end, the limit of the entire pond. And then it started coming back. The effect of one drop was total, complete, and resounding, coming affecting. Then later there was another drop and another, and then it started to become quite a cacophony of ripples. But that answered the question, how many of who has to do what, when, with what heart, for how long? What's the intensity of what they do before it has an impact? Just one drop, every minor yield of the heart in the direction of Yahuwah has total impact. And I think where we are today, at least in my life experience, is uniquely more than any I've ever seen, just because of the access to the internet, of people talking about his stuff, concerning themselves with his stuff. And look, the autumn Moedim are approaching quickly. Within a month or so, we'll be at Yom Teruah. And if you've never done it before, this is the opportunity to do what? Find a calendar, pick which calendar you think is the right one, or the one you're going with, or the one you have friends, or call them up on the phone, blow a trumpet, or, you just kind of roll up a piece of paper and, hey, that's what he said to do. Make some noise. It doesn't have to be a shofar. Do what he said, the first day of the 7th month. Wait a minute, is that calculated by the full moon or by the sighted crescent, or the first crescent of the moon? Do them both if you want. Anyway, we should be at the end here. Hey, Yahweh, we're your people doing your stuff, or at least trying to. Please help us. Please be pleased in us finding pleasure in you and trying to conduct ourselves to be more pleased with you. You who seem so alien and foreign that we've never really known, but we want to know. Please help us. Give us your Ruach and lead us into the truth. Thank you. In the place, in the name, in the manifest of Yahushua, our Mashiach. Thank you. Amen.